Welcome to Unlike Minded, a sci-fi audio anthology.
In Bad Faith by Jessica Gonzalez. Do you renounce Satan and all his evil works and empty promises? Bishop Thomas's robe smells like sweat and incense and something else, something like burnt hair. The scent is so pungent it burns the inside of my nose. I do, I answer. Do you believe in the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and life everlasting? Bishop Thomas's baritone voice booms as he rattles off the question. I do, I say again. The bishop runs the pad of his thumb across my forehead once, then twice, slick oil forming the shape of a cross just above my eyebrows. Within seconds, I feel an unpleasant tingle where the oil coats my skin. I make a mental note to wash it off as soon as possible so I don't break out. The last thing I need is a crucifix of zits in the middle of my face. Rise, Rosa, Ophelia, Francis de la Vega, and be sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. Bishop Thomas's voice reverberates in the small but opulent chapel. I get to my feet and turn to face Sister Catherine as the bishop makes his way down the line, anointing the other confirmands one by one. Her watery eyes are a shade of blue so pale they're nearly white, and her crow's feet deepen as she smiles at me. Bishop Thomas had given me weeks to choose a sponsor, but I couldn't work up the courage to ask Vi, and when I was forced to admit I had no one, Sister Catherine had volunteered. Down the line, Nati, my roommate and the only real friend I've ever made here, hops to her feet, the oil on her forehead shining in the light streaming in through the stained glass rendering of the Virgin Mary. She meets my eyes, then sticks out her tongue and throws me the sign of the horns. I roll my eyes and turn away, but I can hear her snickering, her behavior having garnered exactly the reaction she wanted from me. Congratulations, confirmands, the bishop's voice rings out, and Sister Catherine wastes no time wrapping her arms around me. I'm so proud of you, Rosa, she tells me, beaming. Thank you, sister, I say, relishing in her embrace. Over her shoulder, I scan the pews. I know my parents aren't here. They live 4 hours away, and they sent my older sister and me to Catholic boarding school more to get us out of their hair than to encourage our faith. But I can't help hoping that maybe Vi showed up after all. That hope fizzles out quickly, though. There's no sign of her signature thick black eyeliner or the ripped leggings she insists on wearing under her plaid uniform skirt, even in the dead heat of summer. You're one of my best students, you know, the sister says proudly. I'm so glad you're considering what I said about taking the veil. You are destined for great things. I knew it the moment I met you. I blush at the compliment. I hope so, I say earnestly. Sister Catherine touches her fingertips to the cross on my forehead, an odd look in her eye, but it vanishes as she puts her arm around me again and leads me out of the chapel. I'm grateful for her support, but I'm even more grateful for the cool breeze that sweeps across the courtyard when we exit the great wooden doors at the front of the chapel. The oil on my forehead is starting to burn, and Sister Catherine's habit smells even worse than the bishop's robes. Briefly, I wonder how often they do laundry here. I'll see you in class tomorrow, she says, giving my hand one last squeeze before turning and letting me head back toward my dorm. Once the sister is out of sight, I count approximately 3 seconds before Nati tackles me from behind, and it takes all of my strength to stay on my feet. She wraps her legs around my waist, and I hook my arms under her knees, already resigned to the fact that I'll be giving her a piggyback ride back to her dorm. I crossed my fingers behind my back when I renounced Satan, Nati says, her voice low. Of course you did, I say flatly. Didn't you? No. God, you're no fun. Even if you do decide to become a nun, which I think would be a terrible waste, you're not one yet. Plenty of nuns got into some fucked up shit before they took the veil, you know? What kind of fucked up shit would you suggest I get into? Well, for starters, I was thinking... I drop her before she can finish that thought. When I wake up for class the next morning, it feels like someone has been chiseling into my skull. Nati throws a pillow at me when I don't turn off my alarm. You're going to be late for Sister Catherine's class, she says, still groggy herself. What are you, hungover? She knows very well that I'm not hungover. All we did for the rest of the day after confirmation was eat hot Cheetos and watch reality TV. I'm up, I whine, reluctantly throwing off my covers. Nathy grimaces as I stand. I think you may have had an allergic reaction to the anointing oil, she says. My head pounds in time with my pulse as I get to my feet. When I make it to the bathroom, my own reflection startles me. I do look hungover. My eyes are bloodshot and the dark circles beneath them are so purple they look like bruises. My skin is dull. My hair is a tangled mess. And though I didn't technically break out, there is an angry red cross on my forehead where I was anointed. Great. I wash my face in the sink and dab some concealer onto the irritated skin, sucking air through my teeth when it burns at my touch. I give up and rake a brush through my hair, but I wince in pain when it catches on a particularly knotted tangle. Reaching up to hold the clump of hair at the root, I feel something that makes me throw the brush to the floor. At first, I'm afraid it's a giant beetle, or worse, a cockroach tangled in my hair. Slowly, I reach back up, my fingertips feeling gingerly around for whatever it is. But when I feel it again, I realize it's not something tangled in my hair. It's something under my skin. Something the size of a marble growing from my head just above my ear. My other hand shoots up and my pulse quickens when I feel an identical knot on the other side too. What the hell? I dig through my hair trying to part it and get a look at my scalp beneath it. The skin at the crown of my head is inflamed and irritated. It's stretched so thin I can see purple veins and red capillaries webbing through it, throbbing with every heartbeat. I poke at the growth with one finger, and my other hand flies to my mouth to muffle the agonized cry that escapes me at the slightest pressure. You okay in there? Nathy's voice accompanies a soft knock at the bathroom door. I'm fine, I call. I just must have eaten something that disagreed with me. You go ahead. Save me a seat. Okay, she says. If she heard my voice crack the way it only does when I lie, she doesn't press me any further. Feel better. When I hear the door close behind her, I dig through my medicine cabinet and pop a handful of ibuprofen, not bothering to count them out. Even the thought of running a brush through my hair again is excruciating, so I tie it up in a messy bun. Then I pull on one of my plaid uniform dresses, swipe some extra concealer under my eyes, and run out the door. Sweat drips down my spine within seconds of walking outside. The ibuprofen has done nothing for my head. If anything, it hurts even worse now. My skull feels like an egg being cracked open from the inside, and I can barely see straight by the time I make it to the building where most of our classes take place. Most days, I drag Natalia to the front of the classroom for Sister Catherine's class, but the back row is her natural habitat. That's where she is when I walk into the room. She takes her backpack off the empty seat next to her, and I cross the classroom with my chin tucked down, avoiding eye contact with everyone I pass. I take out my notebook and a pen and turn to Nathy. Where are we? I ask her, wiping sweat from my forehead with the back of my hand. Matthew 8, she whispers. I open my Bible and flip through the pages. The motion makes me sick to my stomach. When I finally look up to listen to Sister Catherine's lecture, she's staring straight at me. I can't tell if it's disappointment or just concern in her eyes. Either way, it makes me want to shrivel up and die. Change of plans, she says, just as I've found the right page. Let's turn to Revelation 12 instead. I throw a questioning glance at Natalia. She just shrugs. And the great dragon was thrown down, Sister Catherine reads. That ancient serpent who is called the devil, the deceiver of the whole world, he was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. You look like shit, Rosa, Nathy mutters. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine, I tell her, trying to focus, but sweat is dripping down my neck, slipping down my spine. I told you not to finish that bag of hot Cheetos. You're Cuban. You're not built for spicy food. Shut up, I hiss. But woe to you, O earth and sea, Sister Catherine continues, for the devil has come down to you in great wrath. She shuts her Bible and looks out over the class, searching for what Nathy would call her next victim. Why was the serpent thrown down to earth? Because he tried to gather up an army of angels, someone up front says, to take God's throne for himself. Why did he want God's throne? Sister Catherine asks. She's always asking us why. She wants us to think beyond the answers we've been taught since we were just kids in Sunday school. She wants us to dig deeper than that. Because he wanted power? Someone else chimes in. Why? Sister Catherine presses. Then, just as I hoped they wouldn't, her eyes land on me. Rosa? I suck in a shaky breath, fighting lightheadedness. I've always kind of thought it was because he loved God, I say. My own voice sounds muffled to me, like I'm underwater. He thought man was an imperfect creation compared to himself and the rest of the angels, and he didn't want us to corrupt the perfect world God had created, so he refused to serve man, refused to acknowledge man as his equal. So why take God's throne? She asks, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. For his own good, I answer. Darkness creeps in at the edges of my vision. I try to blink it back, try to focus on Sister Catherine's words. And when he was punished for that love, when he was cast out and thrown down to the earth, with the imperfect little creations he hated so much, what did he decide to do then? His army of angels didn't work, Nati says. I know she's right beside me, but it sounds like her voice is coming from somewhere outside. So he decided to try and create an army of men instead. If he couldn't take God's throne directly, he would do it by tempting his children away from him. What's a king without loyal subjects? And who was his first target? The very first child of God tempted into darkness? The class is silent for a moment. Eve, I say. Precisely. Given the choice between Adam and Eve, man and woman, Satan decided his best bet would be Eve. The devil chose woman. That's when I black out. When I open my eyes again, I'm staring up at a circle of faces, Natalia's and Sister Catherine's, as well as some of the other students who were sitting closest to me. Are you all right, child? Sister Catherine asks. Something about her face isn't right. It's her eyes, I realize. They're completely black. I scramble up to sitting, but then I blink and her eyes are the same pale blue they've always been. I'm still not seeing straight. You're bleeding, Nati says, and I know she's right because I can feel something hot and sticky dripping from my hairline down to my ear. You must have hit your head. Pain explodes in my skull when she touches my temple and I swat her hand away. I get to my feet, immediately dizzy again. But I have to get out of this classroom, away from these people. If any of them try to get a better look at my head, they might see the growths that sprouted there overnight. I shove my notebook back into my bag and stumble out of the classroom. Vaguely, I can hear Nati and Sister Catherine calling after me, but I don't stop. I have no idea where I'm going. I can only see far enough ahead of me to make sure I don't crash face first into a wall or another person. When I know I'll pass out again if I take one more step, I let myself collapse to the grass beneath my feet, still damp with the morning's dew. My chest heaves as my lungs try to suck in oxygen, and slowly, the blackness recedes from my vision. I realize I'm lying in the cemetery behind the chapel and prop myself up against the nearest headstone. Its smooth surface is mercifully cool against my feverish skin. I press my face to it and close my eyes, hugging it to keep myself upright. What is happening to me? As much as I would love for it to be the case, I know I didn't hit my head when I passed out. I know where the blood currently dripping down my face is coming from. Even so, I don't want to look. I don't want to see what's hiding underneath my hair, what's broken the skin at the crown of my head, pushing out of my skull. When my breath evens out and my heart slows a bit, I finally sit up and come face to face with a stone angel, looking down on me from where she's draped over the headstone in grief. I know it's sorrow on her face, but in my current state, I can't help but see judgment there too. I look around for my backpack and see that I've left a crimson smear of blood across the now illegible name on the headstone. Sorry, I mutter to the angel. Then I pull out my phone, opening the front-facing camera to use as a mirror. When I reach up to pull the elastic out of my hair, tears spring to my eyes, but I barely notice the pain now. I'm too afraid of what I'm about to find beneath my tangled hair. When I part it and examine the skin underneath, my fears are confirmed. The marble-sized growth that was there before class has grown, ripping through my scalp in the process. It now protrudes an inch from the skin, bone white, narrowing into a sharp point. Sister Catherine's words echo in my mind, unbidden. The devil chose woman. I stay in the cemetery for hours, waiting for classes to end. As much as I want to dig myself a hole among the headstones and bury myself in it, I know hiding won't help me. So instead, when the sun is starting to set and I know campus will no longer be crawling with students and nuns, I make my way back across campus to my dorm. I've never been more thankful for my frizzy curls than I am right in this moment. There's still enough to hide the growths, at least for now. I need help. If I go to Sister Catherine, I'm certain she'll either run away screaming or denounce me as a devil worshipper. And I can't go to Vi. If I turned up at her door like this, she'd just tell me to run away with the first circus I can find. If she even let me in at all. Natalia is my only hope. When I open the door to our room, she's already there, pacing back and forth, chewing at her already short nails. Oh my God, you're alive! She throws her arms around me. Normally I would call her dramatic, but right now this seems like the appropriate level of drama. Jesus, where'd you go? I looked everywhere for you. I had to hide because I trail off. How do I say this? How do I tell my best friend that she sleeps in the same room as a monster? Look, something is happening to me. I'm changing. Changing how? Then she gets excited. Changing your mind about becoming a nun? No, I mean like my body. Oh my God, Natalia says as if she suddenly understands. Did you just get your first period? It's okay. My sister got her first period pretty late too. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. No, Nati, you've borrowed tampons from me before. Then what are you trying to tell me? I just don't know how to. Just spit it out. I'm growing horns. Both hands fly to my mouth after I say the words, as if I've just admitted to murder. I watch Natalia's eyes lift to the top of my head. No, you're not, she says slowly. Closing my eyes, I part my hair to show her. It's sticky now, caked in half-dried blood. Natalia takes a tentative step toward me, her hands resting on my shoulders as she gets a closer look. Oh my God, she breathes, her voice low. That is so disgusting, horrifying, satanic. I brace myself to take whatever blow is coming at the end of that sentence. Badass! What? My eyes fly open and I look up to see Natalia smiling. No, Natalia, it's not badass. It's terrible. What are you talking about? I wish I had horns. That's easy to say when your skull isn't the one cracking open. Okay, Natalia says, taking my shoulders again. This time she gives me a reassuring squeeze. What do you want to do? Nobody else can see them, I tell her. If Sister Catherine or anyone in the church finds out, they're either going to expel me or try to exorcise me. I have to get rid of them. I can take you to the emergency room. I want you to cut them off. Excuse me? I said, I know what you said, Rosa. I'm not doing that. Fine. I'll do it myself. I turn for the door, but Natalia grabs me by the wrist. When I whirl around to face her, her expression has softened. I'm obviously not going to let you do this alone, she says. Then she heaves a long sigh. Wait here. Let me just grab some supplies. I shower while Natalia is off sneaking into the infirmary and the kitchen for amputation supplies. The water swirling at my feet turns rust-colored as it washes the blood off my skin and out of my hair. I can't get Sister Catherine's voice out of my head. The devil chose woman. I think about the angry red cross still burning on my forehead. The skin has started to blister and peel there, like a bad sunburn. Is that what's happening to me now? Has the devil marked me, chosen me for some evil purpose? I turn off the water and wrap myself in a towel, then light every prayer candle I own, including the Pedro Pascal one Natalia gave me for my last birthday, and sink to my knees. I start with a Hail Mary, then move on to the Lord's Prayer. I am halfway through the 23rd Psalm when Natalia finally slips back through the door. I watch as she dumps her backpack out on my bed. She's brought back gauze bandages, alcohol wipes, antibiotic cream, and a vial of holy water. Then she lifts the back of her shirt and pulls a sheathed knife from her waistband. When she pulls it from its protective cover, The serrated edge glints in the warm yellow candlelight. This is the best I could find, she says, an apologetic look in her eyes. I swallow hard. No, that's great. Then I pick up the vial of holy water, shooting her a questioning look. Just in case, she says with a shrug. Can't hurt, right? Is stolen holy water even still holy? Let's just hope we don't have to find out. She kneels behind me, wiping the blade with an alcohol wipe and doing the same to the horn on the right side of my head. We take a deep, synchronized breath. You ready? She asks softly. I nod, closing my eyes and clenching my jaw, bracing for it to hurt like hell. Natalia gently combs through my hair with her fingers, then holds a gauze pad up to one side of the horn and places the edge of the knife on the other. Agony explodes behind my eyes at the first hint of movement from the knife. I hold a fist to my mouth to keep myself from crying out or biting my tongue, but with the next cut, a scream rips from my lungs anyway. I can't do this, Natalia says, throwing the knife to the floor. I scramble to pick it up and put it back in her hands. No, I'm fine. Keep going. You're not fine. A surgeon should be doing this. What if surgery doesn't work? Why wouldn't it work? The devil chose woman. I hang my head, too ashamed to look at my best friend as I say, because if the devil has chosen me, I don't think a medical doctor will be able to help. Chosen you? What makes you think the devil has chosen you? Are the horns not enough of a reason? And then there's Sister Catherine's lecture today. The way she took one look at me and decided to start talking about how the devil chose Eve. I haul myself to my feet and retrieve my Bible off my nightstand, turning to Revelation. The passage that she read, I know how it ends. When I find the right page, I start reading it to her. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding in his hand the key to the bottomless pit. And he seized the dragon and bound him for 1,000 years, and threw him into the pit and sealed it over him, so that he might not deceive the nations any longer. And when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations, to gather them for battle. What does that have to do with you? What if we're at the end of a 1,000-year cycle and the devil has just been released from the pit and he's chosen me this time? What if he wants me to be the next Eve? Why you? Nati asks. You were just confirmed yesterday. You renounced Satan, and you even meant it. I don't know, I tell her, but that's not exactly true. I can think of several things that might make me an attractive target to the devil. My abuela practiced Santeria, and when I was a kid, I asked her to teach me. Maybe I sold my soul a long time ago without even realizing it. Or there was a seance I did with Vi and her friends a couple of years ago when one of their grandfathers had died and they wanted to ask him if he'd left any secret fortune behind. And then there's my first kiss, last Thanksgiving, in the church pantry, when we were supposed to be helping serve food to the people in need, with a girl who hasn't spoken to me since. Nati snorts. Well, Eve was a bad bitch who thought for herself instead of letting men tell her how to behave, so... Natalia, I'm serious. So am I. Natalia puts her knife down again and takes my hand in hers. Rosa, have you considered that maybe this has nothing to do with any of that? Maybe this is just some genetic mutation, like an extra toe or a third nipple. Maybe there's nothing wrong with you at all. Tears sting my eyes again, but this time they're not from pain. Natalia wraps me in her arms, and I let her. I want desperately for what she's saying to be true. Maybe she's right. Maybe these horns are just a freak medical anomaly. Maybe I don't have something evil taking root inside me. Okay, I say, sniffling. Will you drive me to the ER? Of course. Natalia is on her feet in an instant, reaching for her keys. We both freeze at the sound of a knock at the door. When Natalia answers it, Sister Catherine pokes her head in. Rosa, there you are. I just wanted to check on you after your incident in class today. Are you feeling better? Yes, I tell her quickly, anything to get her to leave as quickly as possible. I'm feeling much better. Thank you. But she doesn't leave. You're bleeding again, she says. She kneels in front of me and touches her fingertips to my temple. When she pulls them back, fresh blood glints on her fingertips. But she doesn't look concerned. She looks as if she expected this, as if it's the most normal thing in the world. Rosa, is there something you'd like to tell me? My stomach drops and my throat goes suddenly dry. I just hit my head when I fell this morning. I'll be fine. Natalia was just going to take me to the hospital. Oh, that won't be necessary, Sister Catherine says with a smile. Then she reaches out and pushes my still wet hair to one side, revealing my horns. If you just told me, I could have helped you sooner. Really? I breathe. You're not going to expel me? She stands and helps me to my feet. Come with me. I follow her out the door. But when Natalia moves to come along, Sister Catherine holds out a hand to stop her. This is between Rosa and God. I'll bring her back when she's conquered her demons. I follow Sister Catherine to the chapel, where she leads me through the pews and into the back of the church, past the sacristy and then down a set of stairs. We arrive in what looks like a finished basement, small and narrow. Stained glass sconces throw reddish light onto an altar at one end that looks just like the one in the apse upstairs. I'm surprised to see other nuns gathered around it. Two of them swing thuribles, the smoke from the incense burning inside casting the room into a haze. Another one holds the bottom of an iron crucifix over the flame of a candle, the metal glowing orange in the fire. Every one of them looks up when we enter the room. Sister Catherine gestures for me to sit in a great wooden chair just in front of the altar. And I do. Is this because of my abuela? I ask. God doesn't punish us for the sins of others, Sister Catherine answers. But didn't he punish all of us when Eve ate the... That's when, too late, I see the glint of the knife. Before I know what's happening, the nuns are upon me. Two of them grab me by my arms and hold me down, while another holds my head still. Sister Catherine lunges at me, brandishing the blade like a madwoman. No, wait! I cry out, but when I meet Sister Catherine's eyes, they've gone black again. I thrash in the chair, but the nuns holding me down are stronger than they look. What are you doing? Cleansing your soul, Sister Catherine hisses. There's no place here for such monstrosity. I scream as the knife slices into my horn again. It feels as if she's cutting right through my skull. When she backs away, my blood covers her hands. What looks like a piece of bone sits in her palm. My horn. She holds her other hand out, and one of the other nuns silently hands her the iron crucifix, its bottom half glowing red hot. I try to back away as she approaches me again, nearly tipping the chair backwards, but the other nuns hold me still. Their fingers bruise my arms and my throat goes raw from screaming as the white hot crucifix sears my skin and the scent of burnt hair fills the room. That's when the door at the other end of the room bursts open, slamming against the wall, but I can't see who comes inside. Only when she lets out a battle cry do I recognize her voice. Natalia! She howls as she leaps onto Sister Catherine's back. Leave the next Eve alone! Nati takes Sister Catherine to the floor, twisting the cross out of her hand and then leaping to her feet again. She snatches the knife from where Sister Catherine left it on the altar. Her eyes are bright and wild as she points the blade at each of the other nuns in turn. I think you'd better let her go, she says. Slowly, they do. I scramble up out of the chair, clinging to Natalia. Get me out of here. But before we can take 2 steps, Sister Catherine is back on her feet and charging at Natalia, trying to wrestle the knife from her hands. I grab 2 fistfuls of her habit and try to pull her off my friend, but she's stronger than a woman of her age and size has any business being. I jump onto her back, twisting one hand into her veil and pulling hard. It flies off her head and her hair comes out of its careful bun. All 3 of us freeze where we are. After a stunned moment, I scramble off her and back away until I'm behind Nati once again. Sister Catherine's black eyes fade back to their usual pale blue, and she smiles at me like nothing happened. Rosa, she pleads, you want to take the veil, don't you? You want to dedicate your life to God? But I barely register what she's saying, because 2 grotesque horns are growing from Sister Catherine's head. They've been sawed off and cauterized, leaving gnarled stubs short enough to fit beneath her veil. Nati, I mutter. Yeah? Run? Yeah.
This has been Unlike Minded, a sci-fi audio anthology. Collection 3, Monster Mash, stories about creatures, chaos, and the supernatural. In Bad Faith was written by Jessica Gonzalez and narrated by Jenna Jimenez. Unlike Minded is an August year-round production, created, produced, and edited by Robbie Hyne. We'd like to give a special thank you to everyone who has supported this independent podcast production. You can keep up to date and find more info about this podcast and others on Instagram at the handle AugustYearRoundProd, or email us at augustyearround@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe, leave a rating and review, and tune in next week for another episode of Unlike Minded. Thank you for listening.